Good morning everyone, Dagmar Bryant, Mindset and Transformational Coach, coming to you here from the UK. Today it is a period of reflection for me, and I guess for a lot of you, you might find that this time of lockdown can also be a time of reflection for you. The word that I want to leave you with today is empowerment, and with that I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background, my past. I want to talk to you about my father, and in light of that, I'd actually like to dedicate this particular video to my father, who has gone to the spirit world now. The relationship with my father was both good and bad, difficult, happy, sad, a string of emotions that come up for me when I talk about my father. Giving you a little bit of background about my father, he was a very strict German man, disciplinarian, who believed that you got to do as you're basically told. You know, follow the line. When you leave school, you go to university, you get a good job and you stay in that job. But mostly the line was all about, you've got to do what I tell you to do. And for me, that was a big struggle, because I didn't always want to follow my father's advice, didn't always want to follow his footsteps. And when I left school, I actually did a lot of things that he wasn't very pleased with, and that was very disruptive to our relationship. It was one of those things where he always wanted me to follow what he wanted me to do, and I knew that that wasn't always right for me, and leaving home was one of the things that I really needed to do, even if it made him unhappy. When I went and studied law later on in life, as I did mention that to you in yesterday's video, and when I gave that up, he couldn't understand why I was giving up law. It's a good job, it's a good career, and you're following a more holistic path. How can you do that in actual fact? He didn't want to understand, he didn't try to understand why my path, my choices weren't something that he could relate to, and he didn't ever make any attempt to relate to those things. And that caused us to have a rift in our relationship, which unfortunately was never really healed by the time that he passed away. And I know that even though my father's and my relationship was a very difficult relationship at times, it was one of those very important lessons for me, and that lesson was around empowerment. I also had a difficult lesson with empowerment with Craig, who was the man who I married and had my two daughters with. And it was also a lesson in breaking free of another man whose attitude pretty much was, it's my way or the highway. And even in that relationship, after a while, I'm going, that highway is looking mighty fine. Now, you don't go into these relationships thinking to yourself, well, that's what I need to do. Often these relationships are much more subtle. For anyone who's ever been in an abusive relationship, and my relationship was never physically abusive, it was always emotionally very tough on me. You know that you don't go into that relationship. It doesn't start out that way of being a really tough relationship. It doesn't start out with being a relationship where you feel really disempowered. For me, I had to find my power in both of those relationships. For all of you, or should I say for any of you, who find that there are relationships around you who are very difficult, relationships where you feel disempowered, those are probably lessons that are there for you as guidelines to help you in this lifetime. It's up to you how you choose to handle that. It's up to you whether or not you choose to break free or keep plugging away in some other way. Either way, empowerment is the key here. I'd like to leave you with those thoughts today, and hope that you can find your own power in whatever way that is right for you. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening.